Hi, let's do some predictions. Hi, I'm Colleen Delaney. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, I talk about books and writing, and I am a librarian and an author. In the description, I'll have links to sign up for my newsletter where you'll get some early reviews and also a lot of writing news. And I will also put a link to my newest release coming on June 20th, Finding His Mate. Now let's get into the predictions. I've always wanted to do a book of the month prediction video. I love book of the month. I've been a member for almost 2 years and I get really excited whenever they announce what the books are. I think it's a great subscription service for people who read a lot of different genres but don't necessarily have time to go hang out in a bookstore or a library and look at the new releases or comb the new releases of lots of different genres every single month. I think the editors do a fantastic job, and every year, a lot of my favorite books of the year are Book of the Month picks. I'd love to continue doing these videos if I do well. If I get 0 correct on this one, I don't know if I'll keep doing it, but I had a lot of fun researching these. I decided to only go into the genres that they usually pick from. So I've looked up books that I think that might be picks for the thriller genre, for historical fiction, contemporary fiction / lit fic. I kind of grouped those together. Romance, fantasy, sci-fi. Sometimes they include horror, young adult, some more like non-fiction-y stuff, and memoir, but I didn't do whole sections for those just because those are more like special add-ons. Those other genres I just mentioned are really like the bread and butter of the subscription service. So let's get started with thriller, which is the genre that they always have at least one of. Okay, so this was a hard one to start with because I was like going through all the releases, and the 3 that I think are possible picks are all from previous Book of the Month authors, which makes it a little trickier to guess which one. The first one is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. She's been a pick multiple times. I say she, and I actually have no idea if Riley Sager is a man or a woman. Let's really quickly look. Nope, it's a man. Oh my gosh. All the Rileys I know who spell it like that are women. Okay. So The Only One Left is Riley Sager's new book. The description is amazing. It starts, at 17, Lenora Hope hung her sister with a rope. Now reduced to a schoolyard chant, the Hope family murders shocked the Maine coast one bloody night in 1929. And there's obviously a very long description, but that alone really piqued my interest. It currently has a 4.15 rating on Goodreads. I know Riley Sager is just like a real Book of the Month darling, so I thought it was a good one to put on this list. It's 368 pages, which is a pretty normal length for a thriller, maybe a little on the long side, but it's under 400 pages. So that's the first one I think might be the pick. The second thriller pick is All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Crosby, and his book, Razorblade Tears, I think is what it's called. Is that what it's called? Yes, Razorblade Tears was a finalist for Book of the Year. I don't think it won. It was beat out maybe by like a Kristen Hanna book. I can't remember. But that book is about Titus Crown, is the first black sheriff in the history of Charon County, a former FBI agent and security expert. Titus came home to take care of his father and look out for his troubled younger brother. He ran for sheriff to make a difference, especially in the black community, which has so often been treated unfairly by the police. And then it goes on. There's going to be a beloved teacher killed by a former student, and there's like a police shooting death in the mix of all of this. So that, again, sounds like a really good Book of the Month pick. It's 352 pages. It comes out right at the beginning of the month, and it's got a 4.4 rating on Goodreads, which is really high. And so that's another one that I feel like could really be a Book of the Month pick. The only weird thing about that one is, if you look at the cover, which I'll put up right here, but it's the same thing with the Riley Sager. They don't have space for that Book of the Month tab on the cover. So I don't know if that means something. And then the last one is The Spare Room by Andrea Bartz. Again, someone who's been picked by Book of the Month, I think twice before. If I'm wrong, I'll put something right here. This one is Kelly's new life in Philadelphia has turned into a nightmare. She's friendless and jobless, and the lockdown has her trapped in a tiny apartment with the man she gave up everything for, who's just called off their wedding. The only bright spot is her newly rekindled friendship with her childhood friend Sabrina, now a glamorous best-selling author with a handsome, high-powered husband. When Sabrina and Nathan offer Kelly an escape hatch, volunteering the spare room of their remote Virginia mansion, she jumps at the chance to run away from her old life. There, Kelly secretly finds herself falling for both of her enchanting hosts, until one night, a wild and unexpected threesome leads the couple to open their marriage to her. Okay, but this is obviously going to turn into a thriller. This is not a romance. I don't know. That sounds like slightly unsettling for me. I feel like some of the lockdown thriller stuff that's coming out is like, it's like still a little too near for me, but that does sound really good. It's 336 pages. It comes out at the end of the month on June 20th, so it'd be like a little bit of a new release or early release. It's got a 3.51 rating with 392 ratings. So those are my 3 guesses for thriller. I'll give you my picks at the end, but I think they're all pretty good contenders. So now let's move on to contemporary fic and lit fic, because I feel like a lot of these books sort of like toe the line of both. The first one is The Whispers by Ashley Audrain, who has been a Book of the Month author before. This is a contemporary fiction about like an event in the suburbs, which I feel like is a popular choice of plot for Book of the Month. The Loverleys sit by the hospital bed of their young son, who is in a coma after falling from his bedroom window in the middle of the night. His mother, Whitney, will not speak to anyone. Back home, their friends and neighbors are left in shock, each confronting their own role in the events that led up to what happened that terrible night. And then it's about each like person in the neighborhood and how they had something to do with this event. The cover gives me like really big Book of the Month cover vibes. And it's 336 pages. It comes out right at the beginning of the month, June 6th, so it's like a pretty new release. It's also got a 4.06 rating with 307 ratings on Goodreads, which is a pretty solid rating. So there's one option. Next, I've got Night Bloom by Peace Adzo Mehdi, I think is how you say their last name. This author was a Reese Witherspoon book club pick. So that's kind of like, I don't know if that means no to Book of the Month or maybe to Book of the Month. But this is about when Selassie and Akorfa were young girls in Ghana. They were more than just cousins. They were inseparable. Selassie was exuberant and funny. Akorfa was quiet and studious. They would do anything for each other, imploring their parents to let them be together, sharing their secrets and desires and private jokes. And then it's kind of about like, as they get older, their lives sort of change and how one girl goes like in one direction towards like being a doctor and the other has definitely a more difficult road. This sounded pretty good. Like this sounded like a very good, maybe sort of like heart-wrenching or emotional contemporary fiction, which I know Book of the Month really likes those because I get a lot of them. And a lot of them are very emotional. It comes out June 13th, right in the middle of the month. It has 352 pages, so perfect. And it's got a 3.79 rating. It only has 29 ratings, which is a little bit low, but I still thought this was one to consider. Next, I have Same Time Next Summer, which you'll see in this. I have a lot of books on this list with summer in the title, just because I do feel like June is the time when they release a lot of summery reads. This one starts with beach rules. Do take long walks on the sand. Do put an umbrella in every cocktail. Do not run into your first love. Sam's life is on track. She has the perfect doctor fiance, Jack, a great job in Manhattan, and is about to tour a wedding venue near her family's Long Island beach house. Everything should go to plan, yet the minute she arrives, Sam senses something is off. Wyatt is here, her Wyatt. But there's no reason for a 30-year-old engaged woman to feel panicked around the guy who broke her heart when she was 17, right? This just sounded like a super fun beachy read, and the cover's very beach read. It's 320 pages. It comes out June 6th. So this, I felt like, sounded like it might be the pick because it's got like those good summer vibes. And lastly, for this genre, I have You Were Always Mine by Christine Pride and Joe Piazza. So this book is about a Black woman who finds an abandoned white baby, sending her on a collision course with her past, her family, and a birth mother who doesn't want to be found. Which sounded very heavy, but also very much like a book that would be like a book clubby read. You know what I mean? The description is extremely long, so I'm not going to read it to you, but it currently has a 3.84 on Goodreads and only 77 ratings, but it comes out right in the middle of the month. It's 336 pages, which is like right in that sweet spot. I feel like Book of the Month really likes under 400 and over 250. So we'll see if that one gets picked. I don't know. I also really like that cover a lot, so maybe that swayed me. Now we're going to move on to historical fiction, which was maybe the hardest genre for me to pick a winner out of these four because they're quite varied. And you'll see what I mean. So my first guess is The Paris Daughter by Kristen Harmel. This has a great rating of 4.56 on Goodreads with 390 ratings. It's 384 pages. It comes out June 6th, right at the beginning of the month. But you'll see why I feel like this is a good contender because It starts with Paris, 1939. Young mothers Elise and Juliette become fast friends the day they meet in the beautiful Bois de Boulogne. Though there's a shadow of war creeping across Europe, neither woman suspects that their lives are about to change. When Elise becomes the target of German occupation, she entrusts Juliette with the most precious thing in her life, her young daughter, a playmate to Juliette's own little girl. But nowhere is safe in war, not even the quiet little bookshop like Juliette's Librairie de Rêve. When a bomb falls on their neighborhood, Juliette's world is destroyed along with it. Okay, so this has 1, World War II, 2, a friendship between women, 3, a bookshop. So that really made me think, I think Book of the Month might pick this. It's also got such a high rating, which is great. So that's the first one. It's hard with Book of the Month. I feel like most months the historical fiction is a World War II story. And I realize this because I don't read World War II stories. So I like historical fiction, but it's really an odd month when it's not a World War II pick. The second pick for me is The Spectacular by Fiona Davis. She is a previous Book of the Month author, and I did get her book, The Magnolia Palace, which I liked. This has a 4.37 rating on Goodreads and 169 ratings already. It's 368 pages, comes out in the middle of the month, so it's perfect. It wouldn't be an early release. So for this one, we've got New York City, 1956. 19-year-old Marion is over the moon to have been selected to be one of the Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall's glamorous precision dancing troupe. It's an honor to perform in the world's most spectacular theater, an Art Deco masterpiece. But with 4 shows a day, as well as grueling rehearsals, not to mention exacting standards of perfection to live up to, Marion quickly realizes the life of a Rockette has both extraordinary highs and lows. Then one night, a bomb explodes at the theater. Okay, so it keeps going on. But that sounded so interesting and so different. I've never read a book about the Rockettes, and I was a dancer for a long time, and the fact that there was an explosion at Radio City Music Hall in the 50s, which I did not know. I think Fiona Davis does a really good job at taking maybe quieter areas in history that don't get written about a lot and weaving a great story. So between those two, personally, I'd want to read The Spectacular. Next, I have The First Ladies by Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray. This currently has a 4.33 rating on Goodreads with 51 ratings. It is exactly 400 pages and comes out on June 27th at the end of the month, so it'd be a bit of a new release. This is about the friendship between Eleanor Roosevelt, who is the First Lady of the United States during the Depression and World War II. She's married to FDR. And civil rights activist Mary McLeod, I think that's how you say it, McLeod, Bethune, and the friendship that they had that changed the world. So Mary McLeod Bethune is a daughter of formerly enslaved parents, and she is kind of going against white supremacists who are trying to stop her work. She's an activist and an educator, and then she becomes friends with Eleanor Roosevelt before Eleanor Roosevelt is the First Lady, and kind of about how their friendship shapes the world. So that sounded like kind of an interesting one. And then lastly, I've got The Beach at Summerley by Beatrice Williams. She is a previous author choice, and I mean, if this cover doesn't say June to you, I don't know what does. It takes place in June of 1946 as the residents of Winthrop Island prepare for the first summer season after the war. A glamorous new figure moves into the guest cottage at Summerley, the idyllic seaside estate of the wealthy Peabody family. To Amelia Winthrop, the daughter of Summerley's year-round caretaker and a descendant of the island settlers, Olive Rainsford opens a window into the world of shining possibility. While Amelia spent the war years caring for her incapacitated mother, Olive traveled the world, married fascinating men, and involved herself in political causes. She's also the beloved aunt of the 2 surviving Peabody sons, Amory and Shep, with whom Amelia has a tangled romantic history. So the description goes on very far, but that just sounded, it had those almost old Hollywood vibes, even though they don't talk about Hollywood at all. It had that, money, estate, love triangle. It goes on that there's going to be some FBI stuff going on, and then there's a time jump, and then you're in 1954. So I would really personally like to read this book. It's 368 pages. It comes out June 27th at the end of the month, so it'd be an early release. It currently has a 4.04 rating with 46 ratings. We'll see. Okay, let's move on to romance. So we have Love Theoretically by Allie Hazelwood. She has had previous books with Book of the Month. She's had both a Book of the Month and an add-on before, so I couldn't leave her off the list. And this one is, she's really big into characters who work in STEM, and I think she personally works in STEM, if I remember correctly. This one has a 4.2 rating on Goodreads with already 1,397 ratings, and it's 368 pages. It comes out in the middle of the month, so it's kind of set up perfectly. The Many Lives of theoretical physicist Elsie Hanaway have finally caught up with her. By day, she's an adjunct professor, toiling away at grading labs and teaching thermodynamics in the hopes of landing tenure. By other day, Elsie makes up for her non-existent paycheck by offering her services as a fake girlfriend, tapping into her expertly honed people-pleasing skills to embody whichever version of herself the client needs. Honestly, it's a pretty sweet gig until her carefully constructed Elsieverse comes crashing down because Jack Smith, the annoyingly attractive and broody older brother of her favorite client, turns out to be the cold-hearted experimental physicist who ruined her mentor's career and undermined the reputation of theorists everywhere. And that same Jack now sits on the hiring committee at MIT right between Elsie and her dream job. So this is a ton of romantic tropes that people love. There's like a bit of enemies to lover. There's like sort of a spin on best friend's older brother. You've got the fake girlfriend aspect. So I could see this being a pick. On the other hand, I could kind of see it be an add-on. So we'll see. Next, I've got The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. And this has a 4.41 rating on Goodreads with 218 ratings. It is 352 pages and it comes out at the end of the month, so it'd be like an early release. I did personally pick this one because it sounded like a really fun book that I would really like to read. Sometimes the worst day of your life happens and you have to figure out how to live after it. So Clementine forms a plan to keep her heart safe. Stay busy, work hard, find someone decent to love, and try to remember to chase the moon. The last one is silly and obviously metaphorical, but her aunt always told her that you need at least one big dream to keep going. And for the last year, the plan has gone off without a hitch. Mostly. The love part is hard because she doesn't want to get too close to anyone. She isn't sure her heart can take it. And then she manages to find a strange man standing in the kitchen of her late aunt's apartment. A man with kind eyes and a southern drawl and a taste for lemon pies. The kind of man that, before it all, she would have fallen head over heels for. And she might again. Except he exists in the past. 7 years ago to be exact. And she, quite literally, lives 7 years into his future. Her aunt always said the apartment was a pinch in time, a place where moments blended together like watercolors, and Clementine knows that if she lets her heart fall, she'll be doomed. After all, love is never a matter of time, but a matter of timing. So I did really love this because it gave me the Lake House vibes, that movie with Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves, which I do really enjoy. I like romances that have sort of a little bit of magic in them, so this sounded like super fun, and I really hope this one gets picked. Not to just like say it's my guess, but I personally, as a human, hope this one gets picked. And lastly, for romance, I have Will They or Won't They by Ava Wilder. It has a 4.31 rating on Goodreads with 485 ratings. It is 384 pages. It's coming out June 27th, so it's an end-of-the-month early release. And here's what this one is about. Lila Hunter and Shane McCarthy are madly in love, at least their characters are. As the stars of a hit paranormal TV show Intangible, they spent years pining for each other on screen until Lila ditched the show at the end of season 5 in hopes of becoming a film star. With no such luck, she's back for the much-hyped 9th and final season in which their characters will get together at last. But coming back means facing one of the biggest reasons she left, Shane. Ever since their secret behind-the-scenes fling imploded at the end of the first season, the two have despised each other. And obviously now they're going to have to work together and be back together. So you have a little bit of second chance romance, a little bit of enemies to lovers, a little bit of workplace romance. That sounded like totally something Book of the Month would pick. Lastly, we've got fantasy and sci-fi, and honestly, I could not find a lot of books that I thought they'd pick. I only found one. It's called Deep as the Sky, Red as the Sea by Rita Chang Epig. And this is for readers of Outlawed Piranesi and the Night Tiger, which all sound like Book of the Monthy picks. When Shek Young sees a Portuguese sailor slay her husband, a feared pirate, she knows she must act swiftly or die. Instead of mourning, Shek Young launches a new plan, immediately marrying her husband's second in command and agreeing to bear him a son and heir in order to retain power over half their fleet. So this is like a pirate story about a woman who I think it's based on a real person. Yes, a legendary Chinese pirate queen. So she's either a legend or a myth or a real person. So this sounded fun. The cover is gorgeous and it felt like a Book of the Month pick. But here's the thing. Book of the Month just did a fantasy pirate pick in April. So I don't think there's going to be a fantasy pick this month. And that is because every once in a while, one of the main genres doesn't have a pick that month. And there's been a lot of months in a row where they've had a fantasy, and I just don't feel like there's anything coming out that's got like that Book of the Month grab you. There's a couple of titles that look really good that are coming out from Tor, but Tor has never done a book of the month book as far as I could tell, and they have their own monthly book service, so I don't think that they'd make a deal with book of the month. Before I tell you what I think the picks are going to be, I wanted to add that I do think there's going to be add-ons this month because it's the beginning of the summer. And my add-on guesses are The 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hilderbrand. She wrote The Hotel Nantucket and like 40 other great beach reads that are perfect to get you in the mood for summer. I think Page Boy, a memoir by Elliot Page, might be an add-on. They do famous people memoirs sometimes. There was like a Will Smith one, there was an Anthony Bourdain one, and I just feel like this one might be a pick. Also because we're coming in on Pride Month, and I didn't find a lot of books that had like big Pride vibes in them that I thought would be picked. So that is one that I do think is going to be an add-on. I'm not sure, but I think it is. And then lastly, Where Echoes Die by Courtney Gold. I just wanted to throw this one on because I've seen it a lot. I don't think it's going to be a main pick. It has a gorgeous cover, and I could see it being an add-on. But I don't know. This is my first video like this, my first time trying to guess, so we'll see. Let's move on to my guesses for the actual book of the month picks. As you know, now they do between 5 and 7 or 8 picks. I think it's 7. 5 to 7 picks a month, so it's not like the strict 5. But here are my guesses. I think there are going to be 2 thrillers. I think that both The Only One Left by Riley Sager and All Sinners Bleed by S.A. Crosby are both going to be picked. I cannot see book of the month picking one over the other. I think they'll both be picked. For contemporary, I think Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan is going to be the pick, just because it has those good summery vibes for a summer read. It has like a tiny bit of romance in it as like a women's fiction-y type of book. For historical, I'm going to go safe and pick The Paris Daughter because I feel like a World War II pick is the safest bet. Even though I personally really like to read The Spectacular or The Beach at Summerley, I do think Book of the Month is going to go with a solid World War II book with so many of their readers like going on vacation and wanting a book for their vacation. Hopefully. I hope we're all going on vacation in June. I'm not. For romance, I'm going to go with The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston because I think it sounds really good. And the safe choice would be Love Theoretically by Allie Hazelwood, but I could also see that being an add-on and not the main book. And I really want to read The 7-Year Slip. And I know I won't buy it if it's not a book of the month book because it's a hardcover romance and I have so many books on my TBR right now. So this is me just putting out in the universe, please pick this book so I can purchase it. Thank you. Okay. And as I said before, I don't think there's going to be a fantasy one. I could also see there being more than one contemporary / lit fic this month. A lot of months, they either do 2 thrillers or 2 contemporary fictions. So I could definitely see that. Also, we'll see. This is legit my first time ever trying this. So maybe I'll be completely wrong and none of the books I guessed are going to be on there. I don't think that's right. I think no matter what, either All Sinners Bleed by S.A. Crosby or The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I think those are going to be on there. At least one of them, I hope. Please let me be right about a couple of them. If you enjoyed this video, please say so in the comments and I'll do more of them because it was a lot of fun looking at like all the books that are going to come out, especially in like genres I'm not necessarily like usually researching to see what's coming out soon. If you don't want to write a comment, but you want to let me know you made it this far in the video, thank you. Please do the big stack of books emoji, my favorite emoji. And as always, I hope you're in the middle of a good book, about to start reading a good book, or about to start writing a great book. See you soon.